So XM and Sirius, they've merged, of course, pending a huge FCC inquiry and antitrust litigation. But as of now, the future of radio has no competition.
When it comes to satellite radio, there are two giants, Sirius and XM. Nearly 14 million subscribers swear by the 300-plus channels provided by the pay services, despite the fact that the two companies lost a combined $1.5 billion in 2005. Now comes word that the two companies will move forward with a long-rumored merge. Will this help in ending bidding wars that have cost the competing companies hundreds of millions in their efforts to attract content from Howard Stern, Major League Baseball, and others? Is such a merger fair to the loyal satellite radio listeners? And would such a monopoly even be approved by a government that seeks to oppose consolidation? Or is this just going to make Howard Stern an even richer man? Here, with faces made for television, it's The Loop.
Not this face. It's our guest, actually. Joining us via satellite to help us make sense of it all, Bram Titleman from The Syndicate, a New York-based music marketing, promotion, and management group, and from Los Angeles, host of The David Lawrence Show. Hey, it's David Lawrence.
How are you, buddy?
Doing very well. Welcome to the show. David, welcome back. Sirius and XM, they've announced this merger, right?
Yeah.
If it even goes through, let's speak in hypotheticals. Let's say it's going to happen. Is this a good thing for all satellite radio owners?
You know, what is it? It's an embarrassment of riches to have more than one service to begin with. I mean, if you want Mongolian throat music, you can tune into Asian Fist 156. So, you know, I mean, will you have some reduction in services? Yeah. I mean, there's an 80s channel on one, there's an 80s channel on the other. You'll see that happen. But they said that going in. Will it happen is the big question. And that's going to be like several speed bumps in that parking lot until they get to the Holy Land.
Bram, do you see this actually happening, or do you think that it'll get chopped off at the knees at some point?
Well, it is going to take a long time. It's going to be at least a year. There's going to be the SEC looking into it, the Department of Justice looking into it. So even if it does happen, it's going to be a while, but I don't think that they would have announced it if they didn't really think that it was going to pass.
You know, they're very excited about this happening, and I think part of it has sort of been the push from everybody else in the media going, hey, are these two services going to last? Are they going to survive? There's so many money woes. Mm-hmm. They should just get together, right? And so part of that has been what's been pushing this forward, but let's face it, the smartest guy in the history of radio is Mel Karmazin. And he's running Sirius, and he's having a great time doing it. I think the two of them getting together is going to give that push that XM needs to stay competitive.
Sure, but Bram, let's say these guys get together, right? These two companies merge. What happens for the consumer here? Because programming lineup is one thing, but what about the software, the hardware, and the subscription fees? With zero competition, couldn't they jack the prices up and squeeze even more out of the early adopters?
Well, that's one of the things that they're looking over. I mean, they could, if everything works out perfectly. All the major sports are going to be on there, all the great personalities, Howard Stern, et cetera, and people are subscribing to satellite radio in the first place, so they're paying money already. I don't think that they would mind paying maybe an extra $1.
Look what happened in cable, though. Hang on one second. Cable started off as, what, $9.95 a month? HBO in New York, you could get some movies. Now what do you pay on your cable? Hundreds of dollars, depending upon what tiers you get. I mean, G4, if you want G4, you're going to pay extra for it, right?
Right. Well, we are a premium channel. We provide a premium service like this very loop here.
Right.
But no, and then there's so much competition when it comes to the cable and television space. So with nobody else that has satellites orbiting around and HD radio is kind of floundering, David, do you think that there's going to be an issue with that?
I'm not quite sure what your question was there.
With prices, with price gouging.
Oh, yeah, I think as soon as you remove the competition of one saying, no, I'm going to go $9.95, I'm going to go $12.95, I guarantee you the satellite radio is going to cost you $20 or $30. And let me tell you something, it'll be a bargain at that rate to begin with, because you can pay to get an internet feed of major, like me. You want my internet feed? It's $7.95 a month for one show. So this is a big bargain, and there's a lot of elasticity in that price.
Now, Bram, what about terrestrial radio? Does this spell the end for it, as some people were saying when a satellite was first launched?
The one advantage to terrestrial radio is it's free. It doesn't cost anything. And the biggest show on TV, the biggest shows on TV, like Grey's Anatomy, American Idol, the Super Bowl, what have you, they're all on free TV. I mean, generally people pay for cable, but terrestrial is still free. So
Sure.
that's the one big advantage.
And Terrestrial has a lot of people that people are familiar with. Listeners are very familiar with many of the air personalities that didn't make the leap over to, or on both. I'm on both. I'm on terrestrial and satellite radio. Mm-hmm. And that's a fairly rare situation. But there's an awful lot that people have never ever gotten used to not paying for something. They're very used to AM and FM radio.
And David, if this
plus it's local.
Yeah.
Like the fact that terrestrial radio is local, you can get your traffic, you can get your weather, you can get someone talking about.
You can get your traffic and your weather on satellite as well, localized. So that's beginning to be. But you're right. The discriminator is the local guy that's going to show up at the supermarket opening so that you can wear your hat with the buttons on it and go, "I really like your station. Can I come and see the studio sometime?" You can't do that with satellite, but you can with local radio.
Now, David, a final word here. If this thing goes through, if this does happen, will anybody ever be able to compete with this merged company? Or is satellite going to be dead as we know it in terms of that space?
Are you talking about competing as a satellite?
Yes.
I mean, you've got a huge, commitment to putting up satellites and so on. Will anybody else get in that marketplace? Probably not, given the amount of money that's been lost over the last 6 or 7 years. But remember, we're not competing with each other. We're competing with every other thing that your ears and your eyes can take in. And internet, terrestrial, television, online, websites, podcasts, they're all competing with each other.
All right.
Exactly.
Bram and David, I want to thank you guys for joining us and keeping us in the loop there. Appreciate it. Look, an official merger between Sirius and XM, it's still a long way off, and obviously dozens of people still have to approve the deal, and moving at the speed of the government, it's probably going to take a little while. And that's fine. It's fine, because satellite radio still has a long way to go, even as a technology. I mean, if they merge, to be honest, I'd rather have a few channels that sound great as opposed to 600 channels that sound like they're being played on an iPod in a garbage disposal. But that's my own little XM gripe right there.
Attack of the Show, weeknights at 7, only on G4.